All right, so here we have a 2008 Hyundai Elantra. We have no AC or blowing warm. We did put some Freon in it, verified the compressor does come on. We don't see any leaks, any visual leaks anywhere. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do the performance parts of the AC. We're going to go ahead and replace the condenser and the expansion valve, and we're going to look and see and try to do as many O-rings as we can in the system. To try to get it up to par running. We did drop it down to a vacuum, so we are dropping a tiny bit of vacuum after 10 minutes we lost like a pound. We had it at 20 inch-pounds of vacuum. So we know there's somewhere in the system it's leaking, but we can't verify where the leak is. There's no oil residues. The sniffer's not picking anything up. So we're just going to go ahead and put dye in the end when we charge it. But we did bring it down to a vacuum, and we, the best we could to try to verify that leak. So we'll just keep on looking as we do these performance items to bring this AC system back up to par. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove some of the cowling here so we can get to our condenser. If you have any questions on how to evacuate and recharge and all that, we do have other videos that we'll link below that will get you to the info you need. And so the first thing we're going to do is remove our air intake. We have two 10mm bolts. Alright, so what we're going to try to do is, our radiator has two mounts on the top here. It looks like two 10mm bolts hold each one in. I'm going to loosen those up and see how much room we have for the radiator condenser to see if we can pick the condenser up this way. Here, so we can just pop our mounts off. Going to release our overflow tube hose there. All right, so we have two lines going to the condenser here. They're both 10mm nuts holding the lines together. We're going to go ahead and remove our two lines going to our condenser. All right, so we have enough room to just kind of push the radiator forward. We're not hitting anything down below. The condenser is going to be just clipped in. So we want to have like a little clip holding the side in here. Same with this one, a little clip. Get our lines out of the way. Reclipped itself. Jeez. I have to slip it this way to get all the lines around where our upper hose is. Okay, so there we have our condensers. All right, so here we have our new condenser that we got from Auto Parts Direct to You. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we just want to verify that everything is the same, all the mounts. I do have to remove these studs and transfer them over. Okay, so it looks like we got everything good there. The second thing we just want to verify, it normally is in there, but I do like to look. This is where your dryer is going to be, so there's a sock inside here as your filter. Okay, so we do have our sock in there. Okay, so some of the things I like to do, so just like to add a little oil, some refrigerant oil into the sock, because that's what's going to absorb. So the old sock's already going to be saturated, so it's already had pulled the oil out as it's circulating. So we just want to, resaturate it so that it can disperse through the system. So you don't need much. A little goes a long way in the AC system. Yeah, go ahead and put our cap back on. Okay, so how I'm going to pull these studs off is I'm going to put one nut. So one upside down, one regular. I have a 10mm wrench. What I do is I go ahead and just lock them together. Same wrench, I come back to the lower one, and now I can turn it to back it out. Since I still have the double nut, I'm going to go ahead and install it. All right, so once we put this down, we have these tabs. These are where our locking tabs are going to be. We're going to connect. There's two here and two here. Those are what we have to line up to get it secure into place. The only thing we're going to have to worry about is we want to be real careful not to damage any of the fins on the condenser, because that would change the airflow and make it not work as good as it should. All right, so we have to work our way around this side first. Being that when we took it out, we had it slid this way, so we'll go ahead and At the base of our headlight here is what's, there we go. So now we need to walk it back this way. So we're at the top of our mount. Now we just want to push it straight down. Okay, so we're all locked in. Now we want to make sure we line up our radiator because we did move it out of place. We want to put it back into our lower mount. And you just kind of got to do it by feel. It's just another one of these where you got a peg and a hole to fit it in for the grommet. All right, so we'll go ahead and put our radiator supports back on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and replace our O-rings. All right, so just kind of inspecting on them. They have taken the shape of the compression, so that could be some of our little tiny leak there. All right, one of the other things to get when you're doing AC is an O-ring kit. So this kit comes with every single O-ring plus a lot more for, I wouldn't say this model car, but for a variety of vehicles, Hyundais that are built, but a O-ring kit. So we just want to match up which O-rings and replace them so these are completely round. They're not squished from being in service. All right, so I can see one right there. All right, so I take our AC oil and just put a little bit in the cap, just enough to dip my finger in and wet the O-ring as we put it on so it slides in. It doesn't roll or do any kind of crazy stuff that could cause that leak for us. All right, so we'll start with the farthest one back first. All right, so that is the installation of the condenser. That's the heat disbursement of the AC system. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the expansion valve, which is on the evaporator, just on the engine side. And that's going to be our orifice to squeeze our Freon to get our pressure difference from a liquid to a gas. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take, I have a 10mm wrench, I'm going to go ahead and take the nut off. All right, so now we want to remove the expansion valve. So we have the two bolts holding it to the evaporator inside the car. Then we have, those are 10mm. Then we have a 12 millimeter bolt holding the manifold lines to it. All right, so I'm gonna remove the 12 millimeter bolt that holds the two manifold lines to the expansion valve. All right, so there's our 12 millimeter. Now I'll do the two 10 millimeters. There's our second 10 millimeter. So I'm going to separate the line. And now pull the block off. Okay, so those are the two O-rings that go to the lines. Now we have the two O-rings that go to the evaporator. So I'm going to pull the top one off first. Now the bottom one. They look like they're the same. We'll go ahead and put our O-rings back on the evaporator side. Okay, so here we have our new expansion block. Okay, looks like we need to remove our mounting stud there. No. All right, so we don't have that stud on this new one, but other than that, we look good. All right, so we'll just leave the cover off. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put some lube on the O-rings. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and position this on. Get our 10 millimeter bolts in. Right, we'll go ahead and tighten up our bolts. Okay, so now we want to match our other O-rings. We'll go ahead and put both O-rings on. Give them a little lube. Our 12 millimeter bolt back. Okay, so now we have everything finished there. I'm going to go ahead and replace these two O-rings here. That will be all the O-rings except for what's on the compressor side. We're not going to mess with that. We'll go ahead and just do these two O-rings here. Just we're here and we know we have something that might be going on. Here, so we'll go ahead and put our air intake back on with our two 10 millimeters. Okay, All right, so that's pretty much replacing the parts. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up our AC gauges. We're going to put it under a vacuum. We're going to vacuum it for 30 minutes to get 30 inch-pounds of vacuum. Let it sit. Verify we don't have any loss of vacuum. That would say we don't have any leaks. Then we're going to go ahead and shoot it with Freon. We do have other videos that show that kind of stuff, so if that's the thing that you need to do, check out our other videos, please.